Chapter 9. No Hard Feelings. Gifford and Leffin stood on the edge of Hell's Bells platform, their eyes wide with terror as they stared down at the bubbling lava below. The clock overhead ticked ominously. Herman looked across the 10-foot gap separating him from his friends. The clock clanged again. 5 minutes left.
Herman!
Gifford exclaimed.
I knew you'd come.
Leffin said, getting into a ready stance.
I think I can make the jump.
No, it's too far. Stay there.
Herman called out across the fiery divide.
I'll find a way to get you across.
As he searched for something that might help, his mind flashed back to the wooden lantern post he had seen in the previous room. It was just what he needed. He sprinted through the wide gate, retracing his steps to the room where the cross-shaped post stood. Herman reached the tall wooden beam, which stood 12 feet high with a crossbeam adorned by two lanterns on either side. He gritted his teeth, pushing and pulling at it with all his strength. The lantern swaying precariously as he wiggled the post free. By the time Herman managed to get the cross out, the Hell's Bells clock clanged again.
4 minutes remain. Our young contestant has found something to bridge the gap.
Slabs MacGuffin announced through his megaphone.
Oh, it seems that he is having trouble carrying the cross. Will he be able to reach his friends in time?
Jabby Gearbert added, dragging the heavy cross behind him. Herman returned through the wide gate, beads of sweat forming on his brow.
Come on, come on.
He muttered under his breath, straining to stand the cross upright. With a final heave, he let it drop. With a crash, it bridged the fiery expanse between them, an unlikely lifeline in this treacherous game. He glanced at the Hell's Bells platform, its menacing clock looming overhead like an executioner's axe. Another disheartening clang signaled 3 minutes remained.
Quickly!
Herman urged. Leffin showed no hesitation as she skipped onto the makeshift bridge. Gifford, however, looked paralyzed with fear, his stone arm weighing him down like an anchor.
Are you sure about this?
He asked, eyeing the bridge skeptically.
Gifford, come on.
Leffin encouraged.
You can do this.
I can't, no. I'm scared. I just don't know if I can do this.
Gifford hesitated a moment longer before stepping onto the cross, his face etched with anxiety. He cautiously inched his way along. His legs trembled. A wave of nervousness washed over him when he reached the middle of the bridge. Gifford was unable to take another step forward. Another clang echoed through the cavern. 2 minutes now, and the platform dipped dangerously closer to the lava below. The deafening sound and sudden movement startled Gifford. The weight of his stone arm threw him off balance. He teetered, gasping as he nearly plunged into the molten abyss below. Leffin shot her hand out and grabbed him.
I got you.
She desperately gripped onto Gifford's arm, trying to pull him back from the edge. However, her petite frame was no match for his weight, and she began losing her own footing. She felt her grip slipping as she struggled to hold on. Just as she thought all was lost, Herman lunged onto the bridge and grabbed onto her arm with a fierce determination.
I thought he was a gunner for sure.
Jabby excitedly commented on the dramatic save. The Hell's Bells clock indicated 1 minute was left. With their combined efforts, they helped Gifford regain his balance. His heart raced as he peered into the abyss of lava. The heat radiating from the chasm only intensified his apprehension, making him dizzy. Leffin guided him by the hand. Every step felt like a victory against certain death. Slowly but surely, they made their way across safely to the other side. The trio panted, relief washing over them as Herman pulled both Leffin and Gifford into a tight hug.
Thank you, Lord.
Herman whispered, grateful for their narrow escape.
Gifford, you're the only family I've got. And Leffin,
I don't know what I'd do if I lost you.
See? Nothing to worry about.
Lefwin exclaimed. Gifford just scowled. The bells clanged one last time before the platform plummeted all the way into the lava.
Can you believe it, folks? Just as Herman rescued his friends, our earlier contestant finally found his way out of the maze of madness and is one room away from our new contestants.
Slab's booming voice announced.
Did you hear that? Maybe we can work together with this other contestant to get out of this place.
Lefwin said hopefully.
All right,
Herman replied, his voice resolute.
but let's be cautious. If he is friendly, we will need his help, but if he is an enemy, we will need to be prepared.
The three friends then returned to the previous room and entered the narrow gate on the right, hoping to escape this nightmare and possibly find help. In this room they discovered a crosswalk over a deep chasm. In the center of the room a sword floated magically in the air. Its sharp sapphire edge and shimmering golden hilt emitted a heavenly aura. However, they also found Bilbeard, his wide-brimmed hat and cloak a little worse for wear. He was attempting to take the sword, but to no avail. The trio exchanged wary glances, unsure whether Bilbeard was friend or foe. Their gazes flickered between him and the magical sword suspended in the air, trying to gauge the puppet vendor's intentions. Upon seeing the trio, surprise flickered across Bilbeard's face.
Plainly,
He asked, recognizing him from the inn.
what are you and your friends doing here?
The unmistakable sound of grinding stone echoed through the chamber as the four doors suddenly sealed shut, trapping the group inside. Each door bore a small hexagonal blue gem at its center, while the one on the far end featured a narrow slit an inch wide and 6 inches long that resembled a large keyhole.
What now?
Gifford exclaimed, his green eyes widening with alarm.
Is there no end to the dangers in this place?
As if on cue, water began to fill the chasm below them, streaming in from unseen cracks and crevices. The group exchanged nervous glances, their hearts pounding in anticipation of yet another perilous challenge. Gifford's gaze darted between Bilbeard and the water filling the chasm, suspicion clouding his eyes.
Did you do this?
Gifford accused, jabbing a plump finger at Bilbeard. He narrowed his eyes at the enigmatic puppet vendor.
You're the one who brought the stone curse upon Wingstorm Island, aren't you? We're under you. You're the evil warlock king we've heard about.
Bilbeard held up his hands defensively, the curl of his mustache quivering.
I assure you, I am not your enemy.
He answered, but his words were met with obvious skepticism.
Look, I'm not the Warlock King. I mean to stop his reign of terror. I came here to find the cure for the stone curse, just like you.
Step away from the sword.
Gifford demanded, taking a step forward with newfound courage.
This is the Blade of Innocence.
Bilbeard gestured to the magical floating sword, its mystical aura casting shifting shadows across his enigmatic face.
It was forged specifically to stop the Warlock King.
He bowed and extended an arm towards the sword.
Please, if you want to take it, be my guest.
As Gifford hesitated, the whispers of doubt still gnawed at him. He glanced at Herman, whose brow furrowed in concern. The trust they built throughout their adventure now hung by a tenuous thread, the uncertainty of Bilbeard's intentions threatening to snap it entirely.
Gifford, go on.
Lefwin encouraged gently.
If Bilbeard truly is the Warlock King, we'll find out soon enough.
Fine,
Gifford huffed, glaring at Bilbeard.
but I've got my eye on you.
As Gifford approached the Blade of Innocence, the water in the chasm continued to rise, filling the room with a rhythmic sloshing sound that added to the tension. Sealed doors loomed ominously around them, reminding the group that escape was far from guaranteed. Gifford grasped the sword's hilt, ready to face whatever lay ahead. His eyes narrowed in determination as he pulled with all his might, but the sword remained stubbornly still, mocking him for his efforts.
You can do it!
Lefwin cheered, with his good arm. Gifford tugged mightily on the sword, but his plump fingers lost their grip, and his stone arm suddenly betrayed his balance. Its unwieldy weight sent him toppling backwards into the ever-deepening waters below. "Help!" he cried out. Terror etched on his face as the dark abyss swallowed him whole. His heavy stone arm dragged him downward, pulling him inexorably towards the chasm's unseen depths. Without a moment's hesitation, Herman and Bilbert dove into the water, united by a single purpose, to save Gifford. They swam deeper, following the trail of bubbles left by Gifford's desperate gasps for air. Herman's eyes locked on his brother's flailing form. The cold yet strangely refreshing water pressed against him. Beneath the surface, the struggle was fierce. Herman gripped Gifford's left arm while Bilbert clutched his right, now inexplicably free of its stony prison. Together, they fought against the relentless pull of the water. They kicked toward the surface, dragging the sputtering Gifford with them, like a lost lamb being rescued by a shepherd. As they hauled themselves onto the walkway, waterlogged and panting, Herman and Bilbert looked at each other not as adversaries, but as allies. It became apparent to everyone that the water had a miraculous effect on Gifford's arm. It was no longer stone, but flesh and blood once more.
"Look, Herman!"
Gifford exclaimed, staring at his right arm in astonishment. As if washed away by the living water, the stone encasing his arm had crumbled, revealing fresh skin beneath.
"It's cured!"
Glitterfleck was right.
Herman said, relief and gratitude flooding his heart.
This must be the living water she spoke of.
"I never thought I'd be free of that cursed stone."
Gifford cried, tears mingling with the water streaming down his face.
"Thank the Lord!"
Yes, thank the Lord.
Herman repeated, casting a glance at Bilbert. Despite their lingering suspicions, he had come through in this dire moment.
Yes, but we still need to escape this watery tomb.
Bilbert pressed. He glanced over at Herman's satchel and noticed Blarg nestled within its folds.
I see you brought the little dragon puppet along. I'm glad. We may have need of him.
As the others regarded him quizzically, Bilbert drew a knife from his boot. Tension in the air thickened as he grabbed Blarg, but instead of harming the marionette, he carefully severed its strings.
Trust me,
He said, sensing their unease.
It'll be useful.
With that cryptic assurance, Bilbert turned his attention to the sealed doors surrounding them. He approached one of them, the knife still in hand, and began prying at a hexagonal blue gem embedded in the center. Was he a thief? What good would stealing a jewel be if they couldn't escape? Herman shook off the peculiarities of Bilbert and turned his attention to their original mission.
Hey, Gifford,
He called, motioning towards the living water.
we have the cure. Fill your jar with it.
"Right."
Gifford agreed, though his eyes were still fixed on Bilbert as he reluctantly dipped his jar into the miraculous water.
"But this won't be enough to save everyone."
We'll have to figure that out later. First, let's find a way out of here.
Lefwin chimed in, her gaze drifting between the rising water and the sword that still defied their efforts to claim it.
Maybe the Blade of Innocence is the key to unlocking these doors. We just need to take it.
Good luck with that.
Bilbert muttered, still wrestling with the stubborn gem.
The blade can only be wielded by one who is pure of heart, innocent, and undefiled.
Nobody fits that description.
Herman remarked hopelessly.
Of anyone here, I'd say you are the closest.
Lefwin said.
I'm nothing special. I'm just an innkeeper.
Herman humbly spoke.
I will try anyway.
He stepped forward with determination. He reached for the hilt of the Blade of Innocence, but it refused to budge.
Faith.
Herman whispered, frustration and desperation intermingling as he strained against the stubborn weapon. Despite his prayers and efforts, it remained immovable.
Try again.
Lefwin encouraged, her voice as sweet as honey.
You've always been pure of heart and innocent.
I'm not.
Herman said, shaking his head.
Nobody is.
He examined the floating sword. Its sapphire blade appeared to radiate its own light, and the ornate golden hilt seemed divinely crafted.
Lord,
Herman whispered,
I know I've made mistakes. and I'm far from perfect. I ask your forgiveness for all my wrongs and shortcomings. If it is your will, please grant me the strength and purity of heart to wield this blade and save our people.
As he finished his prayer, Herman felt warmth spread through his body, an inner peace that he had not experienced before. Emboldened with renewed conviction, he reached out once more for the hilt of the blade of innocence. To his amazement, it yielded to his touch, sliding free from its immovable field, its gleaming blue edge catching the faint light of the oil lanterns.
By the grace of God!
Herman breathed, holding the gleaming weapon aloft. The others stared at the transformation that had taken place within their companion. Even Bilbert seemed momentarily stunned by the turn of events.
Herman, you did it!
Leffin exclaimed with admiration. As water swirled around their ankles, the companions shared a look of desperation. With time running out, they knew they had to find a way to unlock this room before it was too late.
Maybe we can use the sword to unlock the door,
Gifford suggested, nodding toward the far end of the chamber.
Only one way to find out.
Bilbert added, his gaze still fixed on the blue gem he had been attempting to pry loose. Together, they approached the mysterious door, their hearts pounding in unison. Tentatively, Herman inserted the blade of innocence into the narrow slot, feeling it slide into place. He twisted the sword, and the door swung open with a groan.
Congratulations, contestants.
Slabs said through the newly opened doorway, his megaphone amplifying the sound. He tipped his top hat toward them approvingly.
You have successfully won Tunnels of Terror.
The group tensed, ready for a fight, but Slabs raised his hands in a gesture of peace.
No need for violence, my friends. You've earned your grand prize.
With some hesitancy, they stepped through the doorway, emerging into a cacophony of cheers, applause, boos, and hisses from the goblin audience. The mixed reception was unsettling, yet they felt pride in their accomplishments.
Yes.
Slabs said, addressing the crowd.
While our brave heroes have indeed triumphed, where none before them have succeeded, it appears that some of you are disappointed with the outcome. You see, dear contestants, Tunnels of Terror usually provides a bit more carnage. Nevertheless,
He continued, raising his megaphone once more.
our victors deserve their reward, and what an extraordinary prize it is.
As they stood together, clutching their newfound weapon and jar of miraculous water, Herman, Lefwin, Gifford, and Bilbert braced themselves for whatever lay ahead. Herman and his companions found themselves on a large wooden platform. The goblin audience anticipation was blatant, as though they were witnessing a historic event. Jabby Gibbet stood beside a pulley system.
Feast your eyes on this.
He said, pulling a lever that made the enormous curtain behind him rise with a dramatic flourish. As the heavy fabric lifted, the grand prize came into view. A marvel of engineering, a steam-powered airship that seemed to defy gravity itself.
Behold,
Slabs announced, grinning ear to pointy ear.
your reward for conquering the Tunnels of Terror.
The fat goblin waved his hand dramatically. The vessel was a magnificent sight, its sleek wooden hull adorned with intricate brass and iron fittings, giving it a regal appearance. A large red canvas balloon, emblazoned with golden patterns, was tethered above it all, proudly displaying the emblem of a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Isn't she a beauty?
Jabby boasted.
I designed her myself, you know. This state-of-the-art airship comes equipped with all the latest in goblin engineering. Self-adjusting sails, a steam-powered turbine engine for large propellers, and a hot air balloon.
As the group marveled at the airship, Jabby enthusiastically instructed how to operate the various controls and mechanisms. He explained how the large boiler and a complex network of pipes fed steam to each of the 4 propellers. Excess steam thence could be directed to inflate the huge balloon to make the vessel ascend higher. Valves, gears, and levers regulated everything.
Before we give you what you deserve, we have one last surprise.
Slabs said with an unsettling grin.
Behold,
He gestured to the large curtain behind him.
The Warlock King.
A tall figure emerged from the shadows behind the curtain. He was draped in a tattered black cloak and wearing a black iron spiky crown affixed with 3 blood-red gems. The sinister presence was clear as he stepped forward, revealing his identity.
It can't be. He was banished 10 years ago.
Bilbert's eyes widened in recognition.
It's King Casimir.
The former king of Windstorm Island.
Herman said in disbelief.
Yes, Casimir was once my name, but that life is over. I am now the Warlock King, ruler of this land.
He said, his chilling voice carrying a sinister tone.
I let the goblins have their fun. They claimed that no one could survive the tunnels of terror.
He sneered at Slabs with a malevolence that could only come from a heart consumed by darkness.
They claimed the blade of innocence was immovable.
The warlock's words echoed through the chamber even without the aid of a megaphone.
Enough games, goblins.
He bellowed.
Kill them! Kill them all!